Hello and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I make baseball bats here in my garage. The bat we're going to be making today is for a guy up in Lincoln, Nebraska. He plays college ball and he's looking for a bat for the summer. So today's bat we are making out of ash. You can buy these billets online. You can buy them in ash, maple, hickory, birch. Just about any kind of wood, hardwood you could find, they will have a bat blank for it online. Today's bat is going to be 33 inches long. We are going to make it with a torpedo barrel. That's what he wants. So let's get right into it. Before we get started, there are a few things that you're going to need to be able to turn a bat. The first thing you're going to need is a lathe. So what we do is we mount the piece of wood between these two centers and it spins really fast so we can cut and make the bat. I found this one on Facebook for about $100. They range drastically in price depending on how nice of a model you get. This one is a very old lathe, so it's not quite as expensive. The second thing you'll need is some turning tools. I got this set off Facebook Marketplace. It's a very cheap set, but it gets the job done. What you're gonna need is you're gonna need a gouge tool that you can use to make the spin. You're gonna need a parting tool. That way you can cut to depth and cut the piece out. And something a little smaller that you can do some detail work with, or a skew chisel. You can do the same deal. With a little bit of practice, the skew chisel is much harder to use. You're also going to need a pair of calipers and something to measure with. I have this little square and this set of calipers. I got them from Menards, but if you could get them from Harbor Freight or Lowe's, they're really inexpensive. So getting started with our piece of wood or bat blank, the first thing we got to do is find center. So to do that, we are going to take a square edge and we're going to line it up on the top of the spindle. We are going to mark on either side like that. Make sure that these points are flush with the edge of the blank, and then you're going to connect these points here. And where those two lines cross should be the middle. So after marking center, it's time to put it on the lathe. So all you do is you take the middle on both ends and you line it up on the center on both sides. And you tighten them up. And before we keep going, I just want to take a second to say thank you for watching. As a new channel, I really appreciate your support. Any likes, comments, or subscriptions will help me out a ton. But let's get right back into it. Now, before we get turning, it's very important that you use the proper PPE. I would recommend using a face shield and some glasses. Some people recommend using a dust mask as well. I think that was a great idea. So if you turn on the lathe, the first thing you're going to notice is that there's a little bit of wobble. Even though we found center on both ends, it's not quite perfect, so it's going to wobble just a little bit, like so. So before we do any shaping, the first thing we're going to do is bring this thing down to center and even, and then we will get marking it up. So now that we have turned it even, it is time to mark out how long we want the bat. In this case, we want it to be 33 inches long. So I'm going to give it a little bit of give at 2 inches here and mark it again over here at 35. While I'm here, I'm also going to mark out where the knob is going to be. The knob is usually 3/4 of an inch wide, so we will mark that out. And I'm just gonna put a few lines on there so I can see it while it's spinning. And then using the parting tool, I'm going to just take out a bunch of this wood here at the end. That way I don't accidentally mess up the knob as I'm carving the rest of the bat. So there we have the end of the bat. It is a little bit tore out, but we will clean that up later. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and cut the knob to depth. That way it is ready to go. To do that, I'm going to use the calipers here and then something with a ruler. I like to make my knobs 2 inches. So we will bring the calipers up to 2 inches. And we will use that to make sure the knob is the right depth. So now that the knob is cut to depth, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna remove this excess here, and then I'm gonna cut the end. So there we have the length of the bat. It's going to run from there to there. It is 33 inches long, and we can get shaping the rest of the bat. So now that we have cut the bat down to length and it is ready to be shaped, all we're going to do is we are going to mark out every 3 inches, and then we will use a plan online to cut them to depth, and then we will shape them all together and make it all smooth. All right, after initial shaping, we're looking something like this. So it's a little rough right now, but with some sanding later, it will look just great. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna use either the skew chisel or that small spindle or a bull gouge that I showed you earlier. And we're gonna round over these edges and then give a slight rounded edge on the end here as well. All right, and after rounding those corners, all we have to do is sand it down, and then we will be done with the shape of this thing. So we're gonna start with 80 grit, and then I'm gonna do 120 grit and work my way up to 180 grit. And then after that, we're gonna sand it with the grain. That way there's no deep scratches in there, and then we'll be ready for paint in the next video. And after doing a lot of sanding, it's starting to look pretty good. So it is looking something like this. Still has some more sanding to do, but it is just about ready for paint, which I will do in part 2 of this video, as I think painting and finishing deserves its own video. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, maybe subscribe if you want to keep on watching the process of making these bats. I really appreciate you watching this video, and if you made it this far, you are fantastic. And we will see you in part 2.